What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Gang, gang, we in this thing. Welcome. You are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I am your host, King Ralph, here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kai. What's popping?
Yo, yo, yo. I'm back and I'm in action, yo. It's good to see you, man, for another episode.
Yeah. And before we get this thing rolling, make sure you follow all of our socials down there. Reading is fundamental. Also, at the same time, make sure if you want to do any podcasts like what you're watching, music videos, photo shoots, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And we got a lot to get into, so we're just going to jump straight in. We got the NBA draft coming up. I was sitting here going through the prospects, and I realized I made a slight mistake where I tried to go in each individual position where I forget we're in the era of positionless basketball. So it's like when you try to look up forwards, they don't tell you if it's a 4 or a 3.
Right.
And
they play two different positions.
There were actually people that we spoke about already that I would have had in this 5 spot had I did a top 5 small forwards off rip. And so it changes things. So I changed it to top small forwards. And we got some good ones, man. I think that this draft, I think it's a pretty deep draft when you look at in the totality of impactful players that could come in and possibly make a day one type of impact. And so to go forward, I know you hate his name, but
you were discretion advised.
I like Grady Dick coming out of Kansas. One and done, 6'8", long, lengthy shooter. He has an argument to be the best shooter in the draft. Great footwork with a high and quick release with a 6'8" frame that makes it hard to block, and he shoots that thing at a high clip. He has a great feel for the game, reading defenses, knowing when to pick, knowing when to pop, when to roll, when to take the shot, when to pump fake and get a better shot. And so I think, and we talk about that bag all the time. We talk about player LeBron in particular, who, when you make that closeout, are they able to get that one dribble pull up? And I think that that's an art where the mid-range monsters, they do that very well. And so you call him GD. I see a lot of comparisons to Cam Johnson, his ability to shoot.
Okay.
I think with the same size and frame, we've seen Cam be able to take the closeout and attack the rim now. He's gotten better on the defensive end, which is the one thing that GD lacks. And so I think he needs to work on his on-ball defense. Although he's a little there's only so much you can do when it comes to not having the foot speed, but I do think like footwork and also effort. As long as you give you work on your footwork and you give effort, that'll help you at least be able to stay on the floor to be effective to where you can affect the offensive end. Okay. Someone else I wanted to give some big ups to, Bilal Koulibaly, 6'6", out of France, 7'2" wingspan. And so my man can tie his shoes standing up. He's a versatile long wing defender. Like I said, he has long arms, so it gives him the ability to play the passing lane, but also being able to affect closeout. And so I think that length, while also being a lob threat, extreme athleticism, he has a Euro step in the layup package. I think that, and he has pretty good footwork too on the offensive end. And so I think he's a great prospect. I see him still being in the lottery just because of that size and athleticism. He does need to work on his handle a little bit more while also being able, because at least at that point, if you are able to create space for you to attack the rim, it can cover up deficiencies in his shooting, which shooting is abysmal right now. And so it is one of those things where he has to get better at that, but I'm gonna let you go.
All right. So I like both of those picks. For my 5 spot, I rolled with a little flyer here in terms of Leonard Miller coming from the G League Ignite. I like his size, his length at 6'10", his ability to get out and transition. He's able to knows how to use the angles when they're out in transitioning, allows spacing for shooters. Can finish at the rim. Has a good Euro step. You'd be like, well, everyone has Euros, but yeah, he knows how to effectively utilize it as a finishing mechanism. I like the fact that he does have experience playing within the G League, so he's got a chance to go up against some different pro level athletes. He averaged 15.5 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, so about close to 10 rebounds on 53, 30, 80 shooting splits for the Ignite. One thing that he excels at, Ralph, a lot is cutting off the basketball, moving without the basketball, which is very important. So, like, if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's just not going to stand in the corner and wait for the shot. He knows how to move without the basketball. Defensively is an area that I think that he actually is solid in, but he could definitely improve on his shooting as well as his ball handling. In this era of the NBA, and for I guess you could say the last seven or so years, it's been beneficial for you to be able to shoot the basketball, right? You just don't win on defense alone. So, yeah, but I have him at number 5. I just like his potential at number 5. And then number 4, health comes down to health, but he can score. I went with Bryce Sensabaugh out of Ohio State. This dude, man, he has isolation moves. He has a soft touch around the basket, bro. He has a good shooter's touch. Like he can pull up mid range. He's someone who's going to be able to get a bucket maker, as Bill Russell said on I think it was Uncle Drew. He was in that movie. He's like, the game is about a bucket. So rest in peace to Bill Russell, man. Even though you were a defensive minded player, but hey, you know what I'm saying. I ain't here to slander Bill Russell. But 6'6". I said 235 pounds. So he could possibly establish himself as the number 1 option. So that's another attribute that's not necessarily put on a stat sheet, right? And then poor on-ball defender, lacks awareness on that end. So he's prone to ball watching, sometimes can lose it. Or should I say, he's not necessarily looking where players are going, backdoor, different things of that nature. But he just needs to have disciplined eyes, and he needs to stay in front of players. But no one's really a lockdown defender like that in today's NBA. You have a couple, but those are my 2. So
here's a guard I can't wait to talk about that I love on the defensive end.
Okay. I'm curious.
And, I already gave my 3. We talked about it before the show. We had the same 3, so I'll let you go.
Okay.
I got to cook on some of the top ones. So who?
Yeah. So I actually had Grady at 3 because of shooting ability. I thought that he careens himself ahead of those 2 players that I mentioned because he can shoot. He's a hustle player. He may not be the best on-ball defender, but like you said, energy, effort, also help defense is key. He has the size. You said what?
I said that's a skill nowadays.
Yeah.
Energy and effort.
And he also moves without the basketball. So a theme that you guys will hear is I like guys who can move without the basketball. It's like, I don't know. It's like one of the coolest things of just like people that move without the basketball now. So, and then
there's an art to it.
Yeah, there's art to it.
Being able to read the screen, knowing what angle to take, how to hug the screen.
Yeah,
you pretty much make sure that the player is behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it's important, man. I think that's the evolution in Dame's game, and why he's been able to close the gap between how good Steph is versus him.
Yeah,
because of his ability to move without the ball.
Yeah, and not to go too far off topic, but if you guys ever checked I think it was Tim Legler and JJ Redick, they had a conversation about Michael Jordan moving, how he moved differently and everything. Look at Michael Jordan's clips. He's a great mover without the basketball.
Right.
Exceptional. So there you go. Number 2 and 1, I think we shared the same. Cam Whitmore out of Villanova. I like his size, can score, can shoot the three, can hit the free throw line. He's athletic. He's big. He's quick first step, and he's aggressive at the rim.
He's
Like
got a
you have
crazy
to
first step.
crazy first step. He's someone because of it, Ralph. You need help at the rim.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you need help at the rim when you go to get against Cam Whitmore. He's out of Villanova. I said he could improve his ball handling just a little bit, passing and playmaking. You know, I kind of want to see him maybe, you know, pick and pop, see how that goes. Very good rebounder, very good athletic, NBA athleticism, 3-point range. So I got him at number 2. And then number 1, self-explanatory, Brandon Miller, 6'9", maybe bigger, 200 pounds, quick release. I said he's a good 3-point shooter. He has the versatility to play small forward and power forward. If I'm being honest with you, a lot of these players that we mentioned can play both. And I ran into the same issue that you ran into about the small forward position because, like, Jalen Wilson, I had him in our power forward thing last, I think, episode, but he can also play the small forward. You know what I'm saying? He looked more like a small forward to me in college, but it's positionless basketball. So I got Brandon Miller at number 1, bro.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think that his ability, I think that the more athletic, the comp to a more athletic like Middleton is what you really expect from him. I think the placement of some of these players is where I'm intrigued. I like Cam Whitmore next to a Tyler Halliburton. Like, that's nasty.
And they have Benedict Mathurin over there too.
Just think about
I
think Grady, I don't know. It's just something about and I don't even want to sound no type of way.
Okay, no problem. Just speak your mind, man.
Just think Grady fits that Indiana Pacers, bro.
Facts. He fit. Actually, I think he fits a couple different teams. But yeah, he definitely fits. Yeah, he definitely fits in here.
And so
yeah.
I'm curious to see what happens at the top, especially because some people are a big fan of Scoot, so it's like, who's gonna go 2? We know Vic is 1, but who goes 2? And that's where I think that conversation is
starts to happen
when that draft happens, man. It's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be intriguing because you can go Scoot, you can go Brandon Miller. It just depends on what you're looking for, what you're and what you're asking. Next up, we got inbounds, out of bounds. Coach Spo, after game 2, was asked about making Yoke a scorer, and was that the intention? He comes out, and it was Ramona Shelbourne, who is constantly on ESPN, on many different shows, but she's the one that asked the question. He says, to the untrained eye, that's what it looks like, but we need to respect that and understand that we can't make someone that's a superstar like Yoke make him do anything. Was he in bounds or out of bounds?
Oh, man. You know, I think because he clarified it, or added detail to what he was talking about, I'm saying inbounds, but I thought maybe he could have used a different terminology than the untrained eye for the topic question. That I felt that was kind of out of bounds because, like we mentioned, pre-show, we talked about Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson said on the telecast, how you should approach Jokic and all that. But Eric Spoelstra was essentially saying, hey, in totality, look at the different handoffs and screens and back picks and stuff that they do, right? It's more than just that. It's all a culmination. However, the end result or the conclusion, the meat and potatoes is you want to make Jokic into a scorer. I believe ESPN put up the stat. They're 0-3 this postseason when Jokic scores 40-plus points or more. And losses, I believe he's averaging like 41 points per game. I think it's something like 10 assists, 11 rebounds or whatever. So, and we look at what the Phoenix Suns did. And I believe it was game 5 when Jokic had, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 53 points or 51? It was something, it was like early 50s, and they lost the game. Why? Because what that does is going to get guys like a Michael Porter Jr., it's going to get guys like an Aaron Gordon, and it's going to get guys like a KCP who want to shoot threes out of rhythm. because they're not feeling the ball, they're not touching the ball. They're not really getting involved in the offense in any other type of way outside of Jamal Murray, who can create his own basket. So I thought the Miami Heat had a good game plan. We'll talk about that in another topic. But I will say that because he clarified, it was perfectly fine inbounds. But I just thought that he could have probably switched up his terminology for it. That's all. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right, for sure. And then next up, Mike Malone calls out his team.
You want to take the lead on that?
Effort. Two.
Yeah.
And this is the part where it gets interesting because they're facing adversity. They could possibly go down in this finals. They gave up a game, which they weren't losing at home. And so to lose a game, have to go to Miami, who also was not losing at home until the Boston series, and that was toward the end of the Boston series. So I'm gonna say he's inbounds because and you talked about it, keeping those guys in rhythm, but also another thing that keeps them, you can tell when they're in rhythm, is how well they play on defense. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP, when shots are falling, defense looks better.
Yeah.
And then, so especially Michael Porter Jr., when his shot is hitting or he's playing well offensively and he's in rhythm, he plays really good defense. He gives effort. He's more engaged. He doesn't have those mental lapses. KCP, same way. And so I think he's inbounds because when you watch the tape, the effort is not there. It's like you win the rebound game in totality, but when it really mattered in that fourth quarter, you was getting pushed around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm gonna say he's inbounds.
All right, I agree.
Most certainly. And then we out here, we gotta agree or disagree.
Hey, perfect segue.
Yeah. I haven't typed the topic out yet, but
okay.
We talked about it. We just added it in just during our production meeting. Mm-hmm. So Adam Silver was on Inside the NBA and had a conversation with Chuck and the guys as far as the in-season tournament and the CBA. Pretty much they were talking about the CBA and they brought up the in-season tournament. And so he explained in depth a little bit more in depth of, so now I have a better understanding of what it is. So instead of playing 82 games and a tournament, they're going to do, the tournament is part of the 82 games. So it's an in-season tournament where you can win a trophy similar to like a Maui Invitational in the college basketball grand scheme of things. Just to look at it that way. You can win this tournament, but also these wins and losses within that tournament count towards your overall record. Do you agree with this addition or do you disagree with this addition?
So here's the thing. For me, just to answer the question, it sounds quirky, if that's a word, kind of wacky, a little bit tacky. Hey, I just rhyme, man. I keep sometimes I just have to remind people that I am like a former rapper, but I'm not here to plug my music, bro. But that's a whole nother topic. But but based off of a discussion that we had, I can commend, I don't want to say applaud, right? Because I don't know how it's going to go, but I can commend Adam Silver for making what seems to be a conscious effort to draw in viewership, and not just draw in viewership, but to keep players actively engaged in the season. So for that, I'm going to agree with it. I still think that there may be a better way to do that than how this tournament thing's going to work, because it sounds kind of weird to me. But until I actually can have an idea and actually present an idea to someone, it's like I can't really say much. So I'm going to agree, just because I just think that it's a double-edged sword here. I think he's trying to accomplish two things, and I'll swing it back to you. I think that he's trying to keep players actively engaged within the season, along with the new CBA and the number of games played to be eligible for X, Y, and Z award, and vice versa, MVPs, et cetera, and like first teams and all that. And I think the second thing is to get viewers. Like the NBA viewership has been down these last couple of years. Get us to watch the regular season basketball games, because a lot of people now they treat it like this MLB, like, oh man, I ain't watching the playoffs, man.
Right.
I don't care that DeRozan had 9 40-point games in the Grove. What is he, Kobe? Like, come, you know what I'm saying? Like, you feel me, man? Like, we need to get engaged. So, what do you think, Ralph? I know we discussed it a little before, so yeah.
I like it because I like new. I like different.
Yeah.
I like change until you start doing too much. But I like it because it does keep you in. It's gonna. Because I remember I'm trying to think. Didn't they say like it's proposed where it would be around All-Star break?
Yep.
And so I think that I think that could be really good because it does, like at that mid-season point, right when a lot of people start paying attention anyway. I think that's a nice way to bring them in. And you can also get to see a little bit, if it works out the way that they want it to, you get to see a little bit of where teams are before the playoffs happen. And so I'm intrigued. I agree with the addition.
Okay.
Next up, 11 seconds left in the game. Jamal Murray's bringing the ball up the floor. Mike Malone has an opportunity to call a timeout, and he does not.
Right.
Jamal Murray eventually misses a game-tying three, or was it a game-winning three? I think it's a game-tying three.
I've been game time.
So it leads to the question: should Mike Malone have called a timeout? Do you agree?
I'm gonna go. Oh, good. Yeah. I'm gonna go and say I agree that he should have called a timeout. I'm gonna take this angle for it, right? Because I believe that when you look at the look that he got, yeah, he did get a look, but I believe it was contested, and he almost made the shot. However, the defender that he was going up against, Jimmy Butler, did a great job defending him. And I feel like if you call a timeout, you can get a better shot. Now, we talked about, well, if he goes out, he's trying to go get the three, yada, yada. But, Michael Porter Jr., he had been ice cold from three. And I believe that you have a guy in Nikola Jokic, while Miami's short, they could set their defense. Nikola Jokic has done well with inbounding plays, right? And I feel like with Nikola Jokic, it allows you to derive a passing play, an inbound play, where you can get a look. Maybe you can get something where you can collapse the defense and kick out to the three. Because last time I checked, they had a full, 14 seconds, really, by the time he was at half court, about 14 to 13 seconds.
Yeah.
So I thought that was more than enough time to run actions. It's different actions, get movement, get someone moving. Also, Nikola Jokic is also another option from three. Not all big men. I mean, in this area, they can shoot the three, but not always at a high percentage. Right. So I think Jokic, if you have Jokic underneath the basket, or you have Jokic, maybe on the court, maybe he could do something. So I just personally thought that, hey, we talk about the look and the switch. Well, if you call a timeout, maybe you don't have Jimmy Butler on you. Maybe you have a Duncan Robinson or whoever was on the court at that time. So I'm going to go with the other side, and I'm going to say, hey, I agree that he should have called a timeout. What about you?
I disagree.
All right.
Disagree. I think the only reason we're having this conversation is because he missed. And so I think that when it comes to this, you look at it, like you said, it's about anywhere from 14 to 12 seconds before they get down court. Now, at that point, you can run some action, or you just let them dribble out the clock. Jamal Murray is an ISO bucket, make a play. But I think that when you look at it, and I don't know who it was at the top of that, I don't think it was Gabe Vincent. I think it was like Strus. It might have been, or Caleb Martin. And so when you look at that, do you screen to where you use Jokic big body to create space, or do you just let Jamal go and create space? And I think the shot he was able to get off, those are shots he hit against Anthony Davis hand in the face and a LeBron hand in the face. And so you live with it. I think you live with it. I don't think it was a bad shot. He didn't take one of those shots like, what are you doing? Like, you've seen those before. Like,
Yeah.
His bum off the court, like, but that's a shot. Even Mike Malone said it looked good from where he was standing. And I thought it looked good too. I really did think it was gonna hit. And I was like, oh snap. And then and so that's where I'm at with it. I think that the only reason we're talking about this right now is because he missed.
Okay.
And next up, wait a minute. I don't think I wrote all the topics out. Hold on, what's going? Wait, there we go. Yeah, we actually segue because we're talking about the game. Now game 3 is tonight.
Yeah.
And this is the close. This is one of the ones, man. I think that it can really go either way. We got Miami, who doesn't really lose at home. Denver is a good road team. And the heart of the mark of a true champion is being able to respond to adversity. So I think this is a very pivotal game. I'm not gonna go as far as who wins. If the outcome is what I think it is, who wins the next game is who's gonna win the series.
Okay.
In my personal opinion.
Yeah. Meaning game 3?
Yeah, whoever wins game 4.
Okay.
If the team that wins, who I think is going to win tonight, whoever wins game 4, that's who wins the series.
Okay.
And so I think that my prediction, man, is Miami. Miami is going to go up 2-1. They're going to get their first home game in the finals. I think they're going to come out energized. I think they're going to come out ready, focused. I think Jimmy's going to come out aggressive. And I think that because really he didn't really play that well last game.
Not really. It's always into the fourth quarter, like the waning couple minutes in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. And so it's like I think they've been able to get by with having Duncan Robinson have a great game, Caleb Martin having great games. Like, because even Caleb Martin didn't even have a really good game last game.
Yeah.
And so I think that Miami is going to come out ready to go, all systems go, and get that game 3 victory.
Okay. And I like that opinion right there. I'm actually in agreement with you. I'm going with Miami. And so here's why I'm going with Miami. I know we both set up here, we talked about Denver in 5, right? I know we both like Denver to win the series. However, I'm looking at this as, once again, presented with new information, and I'm looking at adjustments. I feel like if Denver plays at their best, Denver can win. If Miami plays at their best, but Denver plays at their best, Denver will probably still win. But if it's vice versa, then Miami wins. Right. Here's the thing. What we talked about, I think they make good adjustments starting Kevin Love. What does Kevin Love do? Kevin Love gives them some size and some rebounding, something that they severely lack. But unlike and not saying Aaron Gordon can't knock down a 3, which he's been knocking on 3 this year, but Kevin Love spaces the floor, which is going to lure people out, right? He spaces the floor, and also defensively, he can take charges. Take charges on a guy like J.U.K. Take charges on whoever has the basketball, right? So you would think that is beneficial. Also, I saw something offensively that the Miami Heat can do on the offensive end that exposes the defense of Nikola Jokic, which is put him in high pick and roll situations. And I think that every time they ran that Kyle Lowry and Bam pick and roll, or that Gabe Vincent, and Bam pick and roll, pretty much any of the guards in pick and roll, Jokic struggled. So I think the formula is, I don't even like to use simple, but here's what I'll do, and I send it to you. I think what I would do is continue to force Jokic to be a scorer on one end, and then on the other end, while he's tiring out scoring, continue to spam that pick and roll. Now, people say, oh, well, the Miami Heat, the Denver Nuggets players, they didn't shoot well from 3. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to say to that, right? And I picked Denver to win the series. Jimmy Butler, like you said, hasn't shown up yet, as well as, oh, well, Miami, they can't continue to shoot that well from 3. Have you been watching the playoffs, right? So sometimes willing to accept and be like, oh, wait, hey, so-and-so, they can shoot like that again from 3 because they've done it versus Boston. They've done it against, you know what I'm saying? So I think that if Miami's shooters can come out and shoot well, or if Jimmy Butler can bring his offense, like you said, Ralph, I think if they can run that high pick and roll, and also the element factor, which does matter. I thought it mattered in game 1 because it doesn't just affect your conditioning. It affects your shot. being in the altitude. You have to adjust to that, right? I think the high altitude of Denver going to Miami and playing in the heat and the humidity at this time of year is going to pay some benefits. I think it's going to be beneficial to Miami. So I'm going to pick Miami to win. And if they get blown out by Denver, we can delete this take. But like I always say, just for comedic relief, man. but yeah, I'm rolling with you, man. I'm gonna go with Miami with Game 3. Let's go up 2-1. Let's make it a fun, compelling series. You know what I'm saying? I'm down for it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Get the popcorn ready. Heavy,
bro. I think it's gonna be a good one. Well, yeah, it's heavy on the dip.
Heavy.
And so next up, we got the Golden Knights versus the Florida Panthers.
Panthers. Wait, you said Florida Panthers, right?
Hold up.
Yeah, Florida Panthers. Shout out to FIT because that was who I went to, Florida Institute of Technology. Panthers were the mascot. But anyway, go ahead. I went to a couple different colleges, everyone.
Having issues with my laptop.
Oh, with audio?
Here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But we got the Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers Game 3. I believe that game's tomorrow. Golden Knights go up 2-0 after beating the brakes off the Florida Panthers. Game 3, man.
All right. So, I'm actually going to roll with the Golden Knights in Game 3 too, as well. I know it's hard to beat a team that many times in a row, but they are the better team. Speed, they look faster than the Panthers. They're more physical. They're deep. Their four lines are scoring. And you have Aiden Hill, I believe I put down 9-3, outdoing Brabowski. And Brabowski was actually 11-1 on a heater coming into the playoffs. The Panthers, they look confused. They look lost. They look bewildered, befuddled, the whole nine. I just think that the Golden Knights right now, they have the momentum. And I believe that just being able to outduel them and just being the more physical and faster team on the ice is paying its dividends. So I'm going to roll with the home team until proven otherwise. So I'm going to roll with Golden Knights in Game 3. All right. Oh, are we still? So Ralph is adjusting right now his stuff, so we're going to give it a minute. But yeah, so we've had a pretty good series with the Knights and the Florida Panthers, as the Knights have taken 2 games up on the Panthers, and I think we have Ralph is trying to get back in. All right, who's going to try to get back in here? But yeah, so but it's Stanley Cup Finals. It's been really one-sided in terms of the form and fashion that they've actually destroyed the Florida Panthers. It's a one-sided series right now, so that's pretty much why I'm going with the Golden Knights. And I think we have Ralph back.
Yeah, sorry about that, y'all.
Problem, guys, holding it down. All right.
Had to swap it out because I don't know what happened, but my laptop would start dying super quick.
Oh.
But we're all good. We back in this thing. Same thing. I agree with everything that you said. I don't know if I got the guts to say
the boldness on it.
Yeah, I'm not bold enough to say sweep. So I think that, you know what? I'm gonna say Florida gets this one, but I think we do gentleman sweep.
Okay.
And so I think Florida's gonna get this one. I think that they play physical enough where they can muck the game up. I just think that if they can get the game and muck the game up, I think they'll be able to get this one. Because I just think that, like, the way that they do play with a grit, determination, and a physicality that is hard to match. But I think last game we just was faster to the puck. And so I think this one's going to come down to that effort and can they play to the crowd?
That's fair.
And so next
crowd matters.
We got the College Football Hall of Fame. Michael Vick, Larry Fitzgerald being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Or College Football Hall of Fame, along with my guy and your boy, T-Sizzle.
T-Sizzle.
You had there is an actual criteria, correct?
Yeah. I actually have it in front of me, actually.
All right.
Um,
So criteria for the College
so
Hall of Fame, College
yeah,
Football Hall of
so
Fame.
the College Football Hall of Fame criteria is as follows, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so it says first and foremost, a player must have received first team All America recognition by a selector recognized by the NCAA and utilized to comprise their consensus All America teams. It says a player becomes eligible for consideration by the National. This is the NFF Honors Court 10 full seasons after his last year of intercollegiate play. Um, it says this. Here's the well, I'll say issue. We'll get into that in a minute. While each nominee's football achievements in college are a prime consideration, his post-football record, repeat, his post-football record that has nothing to do with on the court, as a citizen is also weighed. He must have proven himself worthy as a citizen, carrying the ideals of football forward into his relations with his community and fellow man. Consideration may also be given for academic honors and whether or not the candidate earned a college degree. Lord have mercy. Um, Players must have. This is the last thing for the players. Players must have played their last year of intercollegiate football within the last 50 years. For example, to be eligible for the 2024 ballot, the player must have played his last year in 1974 or thereafter. And then for coaches, it has this one tidbit for coaches. A coach becomes eligible 3 full seasons after retirement or immediately following retirement, provided he is at least 70 years old. Active coaches become eligible at 75 years of age. He must have been a head football coach for a minimum of 10 years and coached at least 100 games with a 600 winning percentage. So those are the requirements for the College Football Hall of Fame inductees for both player and both coach. All right.
That's interesting. That is interesting. I think that this, I don't know, there's some things that had me like bombastic side eye.
Yeah. This is Citizen Society, man.
Yeah, because I'm like, I can barely go through that college football. When did they add that?
That's what I was trying to find out, because I feel like that would be something that sounds recent. Because I'm on the Chick-fil-A College Football Hall of Fame Atlanta website.
Yeah.
CBFHall.com, and that's what it says. I don't think it says the year. I'm sure if I Googled it, I could probably find it. But just like the Pro Football Hall of Fame wants to use whether or not you smoke weed or something like that, even though it's like legal now and stuff in places. But hey, who knows?
That's interesting. Yeah. I'm excited, bros. I think that I'm happy for Michael Vick. And when you go through and you look at those three that I mentioned, I didn't actually see if there was more people.
Yeah, there was Laurinaitis, I believe, was on there, or a couple different people, man.
Laurinaitis was nice at Ohio State.
Really nice. Really nice.
I think that when you look at those three in particular, though, Michael Vick was the first of really his kind, to be honest. Like, that ability to really run like a running back in college while also having that type of arm.
Right.
And so taking his team to a national championship, I think that, and I think he did that as like a redshirt freshman too.
Yeah.
And so I think then when you take it to Larry Fitzgerald, he played like 3 seasons where he had a touchdown catch.
Yeah, wasn't he the Fred Blitnikoff award winner, like his junior year or something like that?
And then he lost to what's old boy?
That was 2004 or something like that.
I can't think of his names. The quarterback, White from Oklahoma.
The quarterback.
That's who he lost to in the Heisman.
Okay, if I saw a picture of him, I probably remember the name. But.
And then T. Sizzle was the college football sack leader for a full season when he left school. So to know that, and then what he was able to do, the numbers he was able to put up in the NFL, I think he did his thing, bro. And so I'm happy to see them get that love and appreciation.
Same. I've said
especially Michael Vick.
Yeah, especially Michael Vick, because if you don't get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, he definitely deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame. And for me, like I look at Larry Fitzgerald, and I told you, like I remember being like I think middle school at the time, I was like he was the best receiver that I've ever seen play at the college level. At the
Yeah,
time, and I still probably would say he is in terms of like what I saw with my eyes. I was just like, yo, this dude is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Even if you wouldn't say he's not the most like maybe skilled and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean he's not skilled. He's has reliable hands. He would be up there. And I want to make one tidbit before we move on with the criteria, the coaching situation, guys. Um, I did take some issue with that because I mentioned earlier Mike Leach, someone who's coached for 23 years, someone who was an integral pioneer for the air raid offense, someone who wound up having a great winner, but he had a win percentage of I think it was like 59.6 or whatever. Because of that, he can't make the Hall because he doesn't have a 600 win percentage. So little tidbits like that, little things about how you are as a person and academic success. Like having academic success, don't get me wrong. A lot of the best athletes, they do show the GPA sometimes. Hey, they'll mention the broadcast. This person was a 4.2 student or whatever, and blah blah blah. But
right.
do I think that particular almost less than the citizen stuff? I think that really shouldn't even be considered. What in terms of your contributions to the football field? I don't care if Reggie Bush. I'm not saying he did. I don't care if Reggie Bush failed all his classes, man. You can't tell me
Right.
he wasn't arguably, if not the best, one of the two best players that we saw with our eyes. Because like one thing I love, like one of your coined terminologies that I like to use in my vocabulary too, is this: I know what I saw. Like you ain't gonna tell me what I saw, bro.
Right.
So yeah, man.
I'm supposed to believe you or my lying eyes. Which one?
Right. Or what Eric Dickerson once said, to like Skip and Shannon, he was like, yeah, some of them guys in the hall, man. He's like, we be looking at each other like, how did he get in?
Right. For real.
So that's all I got on this, man. But shout out to Mike Vick, shout out to Larry Fitz, shout out to Terrell Suggs, and shout out to all the nominees for the College Football Hall of Fame 2024. All right.
So we had the rookie of the month. Aaliyah Boston went head to head with Asia Wilson.
Yeah.
I didn't really get a chance to watch the game. I wish I would have been able.
I missed it too, unfortunately.
All I saw was that Aaliyah Boston didn't really have that many shot attempts.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of weird. But Asia dominated. And so it leads you to the question: are they the best two players to come from South Carolina?
Yeah, I actually believe this one is actually clearly the two best players. Now that Aaliyah has been the first to, I believe, win, what is it, National Player of the Year. And not only did she win National Player of the Year, Ralph, she was actually the two-time National Player of the Year, where others, they won SEC Player of the Year. If you look at their history at South Carolina, they have a rich history of some really good players there.
Yeah.
A couple have won SEC Player of the Year. You have defensive-minded players. But I would say that Asia Wilson is the best, clear-cut best. But Asia actually, Asia never won National Player of the Year, but Aaliyah did. But you could say based off skill set and her two-way versatility that Asia is the best. And I put down some little nuggets. Asia averaged 17 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 363 blocks. But she has a statue. She has a statue outside. So that means something, right? And she was the all-time scoring leader for South Carolina as well as the all-time blocks leader. So the two-way versatility that we always talk about, made 2 Final Four appearances. Even though that is a team accomplishment, she spearheaded those, and she won a national title. Aaliyah Boston, 2-time National Player of the Year. Only player ever named Player of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year at the same time in one season. So that's a little bit of Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon type action there.
Right.
And she won a national title. So they won at the collegiate level. They succeeded academically at the collegiate level. And they're at the best. You could say they were the best at their respective positions at the collegiate level. So me personally, I'm gonna say yeah. So what's your thoughts?
And
because they have a
at
couple
first,
good
I wanted to be like, I think sometimes we become
prisoners.
prisoners of the moment.
Yeah.
But when it comes to college basketball, it's not really like you mentioned everything about Aaliyah Boston. There's not too much you can go back and point
Yeah.
to. But when you talk about college and what they've been able to do in the pro life, Asia's already won an MVP, Finals MVP, got her a ring. Then when it comes to college, 17-8 with 363 blocks. She has a statue.
Bruh, a statue, man.
She has a statue. So, like, this is one of those ones where it's like, if you say anything otherwise, you're hating.
That's what people are gonna call you, a hater, if you like.
Yes. Yeah, you're just a hater at this point. And so,
right.
I'm curious to see what happens with Aaliyah Boston's career, NBA career.
Yeah.
I think she's on. Was she in Indiana Fever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have a rich history, man. They got a rich, especially going back to the beginning days of the WNBA. So I'm curious to see what happens. Aaliyah Boston is a two-way player, and I'm curious to see once she gets to a certain point how she matches up with Asia.
And
go
ahead.
The one thing I'll say about college when it came to college is I'm trying to remember who was in the, because it was either Stewie. Somebody was in the league, like was in college with her, who was winning the awards, and which is why she didn't get it.
It might be Stewie because I know that. I mean, they competed last year for the MVP. Yeah. So I kind of want to look that up. Let me see. What's it? Let me see. Breanna Stewart, UConn. Let me see.
So I'm curious because I'm like, it was somebody that was taking away those looks from her, which is why she didn't win when it comes to National Player of the Year. But I think her impact on the floor, leading them to their first SEC title, first undefeated conference season, Defensive Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, All-American awards. Like, I think that what she's been able to do in her career, I think that it's commendable, and that's why I think that she's the best.
And to follow up, it was Breanna Stewart because Breanna Stewart was, I think, a two-time, apparently according to her college, AP College Player of the Year, and then Asia Wilson was there, but Asia was I think freshman, sophomore, and then Breanna obviously went to the WNBA and vice versa. So yeah, it was Breanna Stewart, bro.
Yeah, man. So, but we seen how they worked out. She won MVP last year. She broke through. And it looks like they on the road this year too.
Yeah.
And shout out to Jackie Young. Jackie Young's been hooping this year,
bro. On God.
And so with the time we got left, man, we got some quick hitters. So Shakur Stevenson, after watching the Haney fight, he said he had Lomachenko winning, and that he thought that Tank and him would be the biggest fight. Now that the Spence and Crawford fight has been made, we've talked about Jamal Charlo up against Canelo. We've seen Fury versus
Wilder.
Anthony Joshua. That's been a big one. Shakur Stevenson versus Haney. Haney versus Tank. What do you think what is the biggest fight that could possibly be made?
I was going to go.
Or do you think that Spence and Crawford is the biggest fight that can be made?
So I'm a little conflicted here because I feel like, once I know with Davis and the whole jail situation, once that gets settled, I feel like he is kind of the moneymaker here.
Yeah.
Me personally. I'm not saying that because I'm biased. So personally, I believe any fight that involves him is the biggest fight. that could possibly be made. He already beat Ryan Garcia. All right, cool, whatever. Ryan Garcia, we'll get into that also probably, has some situations going on there. But as of now, I do believe that Errol Spence and Crawford is the number one fight. That's what I put down on my list. Because I'm trying to figure out who out there can Davis really fight where it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like weight class wise.
Tank Stevenson.
Yeah.
Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson, that's gotta be the biggest fight. Like,
that's the only other one that I could think of.
I think their ability to fight, them both being southpaws,
mm-hmm.
and that power that Tank has, and the speed that Shakur Stevenson has, along with his power too.
Yeah,
I think that would be one of the bigger fights. I think the one that I think that could possibly be up there in that same conversation is Charlo Canelo.
Okay.
And I think I just think that like the ability to sell the fight.
Yeah.
You could bring back that black and brown conversation, the rivalry over the years between certain boxers in certain time periods. You could bring back that narrative and use that to sell the fight. I think that the size, where they are, Charlo's been fighting at this weight and maybe has gone up one weight class, but for the most part, Canelo started here and has moved up in weight. But we saw a big difference when he did first move up in weight, where people were walking through his punches and them jabs was hurting. And so I think that could be a really big fight.
Okay. I actually agree. That's underrated.
Next up, Michael Parsons came out and compared this defense to the 2000 Ravens. This is why I got the question and where my inspiration came from. Is it time to stop comparing between eras?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was gonna say real quick, absolutely. And no disrespect, because he didn't offend me by saying the 2000 defense. I believe they're the greatest defense, but the game has changed. The game is different, and I'm glad you actually made this question, Ralph, because I'm gonna kind of tie this all in. I was actually about to go to sleep, and sometimes I have my laptop by my bed and I'm like half asleep and I'm looking at stuff, and my suggestions came up, and it was the Ray Lewis, the 2001 versus Tampa Bay, Mike Alstott and Warrick Dunn. So this is the year after the Ravens won the Super Bowl. We know that they didn't make it back to the Super Bowl because their offense was trash. And Mike Alstott, low-key, kind of did a number on them. And he was like chipping away at the defense and everything. And he's like, Ray was like, yeah, they got Mike Alstott, we got Goose. They got Warrick Dunn, we got a Dallas Thomas. Like, yo, Ray had people hype, man. Like, he was breaking like the defense down and like the positional things. Like, we got Rod Woodson. We got before the game. Like, thank you, Ray.
Right.
Yo, but Mike Alstott, I was like, bro, this dude was nice, bro. So I mentioned it because like they showed certain areas where Warrick Dunn would be used as a pass catcher, even though that was early. And we see the Saquons, we see the Le'Veon Bell. So with his defense, the Cowboys defense, they have to go up against pass catching backs. You have Michael Parsons, who may drop in the backfield. How would Ray Lewis deal in zone coverage? I'm sure he could figure certain things out, right? But I just think the game has evolved so much, right, where you can't really compare eras, and I'll swing it back to you because the physicality also, with all due respect, Ralph, like we saw 30 for 30, I'll end it with this. That defense, you can't play like that, bro. Like, you just can't. I would love to, but we just can't. So for the sake of time, I'm going to let you take that floor, man. What do you think? Because I know you want to
agree, man. I think it's time to stop it, bro. Like, I understand because you got to have a reference point. And is this better than that type of conversation? But I think to a couple different ways, couple different angles. And then I'll move on.
All right.
When you keep comparing things, it's hard for you to enjoy the moment.
Facts.
We couldn't even enjoy LeBron becoming an all-time lead scorer because then we got to have is he better than Jordan conversation. And is he the GOAT now? And it's like, I think at some point, the comparisons and trying to see who's better, it ruins the moment. But also, mentalities change. You can't be that physical no more. And I think that and rules have changed. Goose, I've talked about this many times. Goose belly flopped on Rich Gannon and separated his shoulder.
Oh,
So, and we were a like a as good as that defense was when it came to scoring points.
you were good.
We were putting on stopping points. We were putting up that many points.
Yeah.
And so I think that you can't play like that. So to compare the two, it's just hard to make that comparison. But then it's like, who on this? You have two standout guys on defense, maybe, and then Stephon Gilmore. If he can still beat Stephon Gilmore of old, then I could possibly see. All right, you have three, but just think about the people that were on that defense.
Yeah.
And it's like, I need to see it before you just start naming stuff.
Yeah. And think about it. This freaking don't forget the Bucks defense might be like number 2 all time. You know, who knows, right? Or 1, depending on what you prefer, whatever you pick as number 1. So
You mentioned it earlier, Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
Beefing with De La Hoya. I thought he was gonna be the new golden boy. I guess he is not. Yeah. How did it get this bad, man?
All right, so I put down a couple different notes with it. Actually, it seems like, well, it started off with, for the sake of time, really, Ryan Garcia coming out and feeling that he wasn't supported by De La Hoya and his team. The post-fight press conference, he's like, "Where are you guys at?" Where you have everyone else being supported when they lose. So you have that. De La Hoya then fires back and pretty much says that, "Hey, you and your trainer, you're to blame for this." Then you have Romero and De La Hoya being buddy, and when Garcia is about to fight, hey, oh boy, so he feels some type of way. Then I said, you have a fighter and promoter airing each other out on social media, which looks bad for the promoter because I believe that the convo should have been private and face to face. And then you have, having discrepancy on who he needs to fight, who Ryan Garcia feels he needs to fight, right? So you have the combination of the lack of support. Garcia believes also, hey, I want to fight so-and-so in the weight class, and he believes that the Pacquiao fight would be a cash grab that De La Hoya set up. Quite frankly, I don't want to see Pacquiao anymore. With all due respect, I get it. He's a legend. Yeah. I don't want to see him versus Garcia anyway. So I get it. I actually, the more and more I hear about it, people can laugh about how Garcia got beat. But if I were to take a side, I'm kind of siding with Garcia. People would be like, well, Ralph, why can't he leave? Or Kyle, why can't he leave? Because like De La Hoya said, he has a solid binding contract. So Garcia has been through different trainers. So you can read into that how you may. But I think ultimately when he does have a chance to get out, he will get out from underneath De La Hoya. So it just came down to the lack of support and a difference in opinion with a lot of different things. What do you say to kind of round it up?
I think all of that, man. I think I definitely see where you're coming from. I'm definitely taking Garcia's side because I thought it was rather peculiar. My bombastic side eye how De La Hoya wasn't there.
Yeah, you ghosted him, bro.
How you been pushing up and raising this kid up, and then he loses, and now it's like, oh, you just abandoned, just jump ship completely. Mm-hmm. And so I think that I see where Garcia is coming from with the frustration. I do also see where the things that De La Hoya said, as far as the tutelage you got, they led you astray when they had you take that hydration clause. They led you astray with this decision. So I do think that there's decisions that were made that probably led to this, and why De La Hoya has tried to separate himself or no longer lift Garcia up as the next golden boy.
True.
And so thank you all for watching. Like we mentioned before, make sure you go and follow all of our socials: TikTok, Twitch, Instagram at KYNGRALPH, add an underscore for Twitter. Make sure you go on Instagram at @v.houseofhoops for unbiased breakdowns and analysis.